Hey there, Rick Sage, recording at the Rimrock Studios in Bishop, California. Welcome to Season 2 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, where I speak with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz and share their stories, tips, advice, productivity tricks, and ideas you can use to take your career or business to the next level. This episode is supported by Cabbage. If you need flexible small business financing, Cabbage has the answer. Cabbage helps small business owners access capital right away without any headaches. Apply online or from your phone. You'll get an automatic decision and you can use any amount you need when you need it. Cabbage has supported over 100,000 small businesses with $4 billion in funding. Visit cabbage.com/outdoorbiz. When you qualify, you'll get a $50 Visa gift card and you can use it anywhere. That's Cabbage with a K. KABBAGE.com/outdoorbiz. I'm excited to be speaking with Ruben Martin from Quivers on the show today. Ruben tells us how his parents shared their passion for hiking, fishing, camping, and skiing and got him excited about the outdoors. Ruben also tells us how Quivers got started, and we talk about how brands are taking Quivers and creating unique online experiences for a wide range of audiences. Hey, Ruben, how's it going? Good to speak with you this morning.
Good to speak with you as well. How are you?
I'm great. Welcome to the show. It's so we just met for the first time a few weeks ago at the Outdoor Retailer Snow Show. Did that turn out to be a good show for you? I think we met on the first or second day, right?
Yeah, it was an amazing show. I mean, the fact that now it's SIA and Outdoor Retailer combined, it was incredible. And
right.
A lot of the brands that we talked to, the same thing. They were just providing amazing feedback of the excitement there, and the just the general vibe was incredible.
Yeah, there was a lot of energy. I couldn't tell if that was it was a combination of the move and everybody being back together. It was very exciting, very fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. So, and how did you first get exposed to the outdoors? Were you always been a skier, or what was your outdoor connection?
You know, I was born in Holland, which is not exactly the outdoor capital of the world, but certainly an interesting place. My mom was Dutch, first language was Dutch, and we moved to Indonesia after that. Again, you know, they have some outdoor areas, but it was really when in the late 80s moved to Colorado that I got introduced to the outdoors. Both my parents were into hiking and fishing, camping, skiing, you name it. They were pulling us on the weekends into the outdoors in Western Colorado, and that was really some of my earliest, I guess, childhood memories were camping in the mountains of Colorado. You know, everything again from hiking during the day, sitting around the campfire at night, and then in the evenings trying to fight off hypothermia.
Hypothermia and mosquitoes.
Yeah, exactly. It's Colorado's a very unique place. And then after that, moved into Northwest Montana in the mid '90s. My parents bought some property kind of parallel to Glacier Park, very northwest corner.
That's great.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, they still have property up there, and it's a place that I just absolutely love to go back to. And again, that allowed me not just to go on weekends, but even in the evenings to, you know, afternoons after school, go do a hike or go wakeboarding or anything else. So for me, outdoors has always been a huge part of my life. That's
great. And do you still do things today? I think you ski. We talked about skiing at the show.
Absolutely. You know, I spend a lot of my time in major cities these days. So that's, you know, it makes
that's
it
what happens when we get
difficult.
Jobs, right?
Yeah, exactly. But, still every opportunity I get to try and go skiing, snowmobiling, you know, again, the hiking thing is big for me as well. A lot of our clients are based in pretty amazing places like Park City, Utah.
Nice. So,
you know, it's always bring up an excuse to go do a business meeting, maybe on the ski slopes with those guys whenever possible.
Exactly. That's great. Yeah. And did you ever have a traditional outdoor job? Did you work retail or guiding or anything?
You know, I don't know if you'd call them traditional outdoor jobs. Early in high school, I worked in a garden nursery digging up fruit trees. That was, you know, any way to earn $1.
Yeah,
and then,
sure.
In the winter times, we bailed up Christmas trees. So that part of Montana was actually known as the Christmas tree capital of the world for a while. And so winter time was spent, you know, putting on some gloves, learning about how prickly Christmas trees can be and bailing them up.
Yeah.
And then, but really I got to do some very interesting jobs that were, I guess, related to outdoors at the end of high school when I had the opportunity to spend 2 summers in Western Australia working on a dairy farm.
Huh.
And that was certainly an experience, gave me an incredible amount of respect for farmers and ranchers.
Right.
Definitely definitely hardworking individuals, but it also allowed me to, again, enjoy more of the outdoors in Western Australia, from fishing and, hiking around to just kind of exploring the outback there. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And then go ahead.
I was going to say, and that's connected to the outdoors. I mean, just a lot of people. My definition of outdoors, particularly for the podcast, is a much broader term than outdoor retail, right? I think there's a lot of people that have various jobs outside, and whether they're guiding or hiking or climbing or working on a dairy farm or, baling Christmas trees, there's all kinds of things that we do outside that they're in the elements and help people, get exposed to the outside. So that's interesting. Dairy farming. Yeah, must have been a ton of work.
It was. And it was, again, it was one of these excuses where I didn't want to work in a restaurant. I didn't want to, earn money more the ways of being indoors. Anything to be outdoors for me was just the way to go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Same thing, university. And I went to university in Bozeman, Montana, and worked as a ranch hand there. Huh. Again, to go to class and then the afternoons go work with the horses. That was just perfect for me.
So you like hard work.
I do. I definitely, I'm in the software industry now, which is a bit ironic.
Right.
Given it isn't quite, baling trees or cleaning out stalls. But fortunately enough with Quivers, we work a lot with the outdoor industry. Yeah. And that's been a nice connection. It's, it still allows me to do the tech stuff, which I'm very interested in. And at the same time, be able to go to outdoor retail show and work with brands that are changing the whole outdoor industry as a whole.
Right. So the audience may not know about Quivers. Tell us a little bit about Quivers.
Yeah. So maybe the best way to explain what Quivers is all about is kind of talk about where we started. Back in the late 90s, one of my business partners, Brant, he had a snowboard binding business. He actually created one of the first step-in bindings for snowboards. Uh-huh. Yeah. So back in the day when, traditional bindings were the straps over the boots. He created a special boot with a step-in binding, and started promoting that in the late 90s.
I remember that changed a lot of things for snowboarders.
It really did.
Pretty revolutionary, yeah.
It was, his primary goal was not just, ease of use, obviously, stepping into the binding, but also being able to change the position of the boot, going down a hill, depending on the conditions, if you're doing half pipe to downhill or whatever it was. And so he created this binding. He, just like everyone else in the late 90s, he set up a website, but he'd spent a ton of time setting up a retail channel, right? Getting all these dealers interested in his product to carry his product,
that's very smart.
Product.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But because he had set up the website, he started getting more interest from consumers direct to him as the brand, right? As the manufacturer. Mm-hmm. But he didn't want to sell direct because he'd be in competition with those consumers. And he thought, well, this is insane. Here I've got consumers that are wanting to buy my product, but I don't want to compete with my retailers. So I'm sending those orders to the retailers. But who knows if those retailers have a sale on a different product? Who knows if the consumers are actually going to take the time to go to the retail store? Right. And he thought there has to be a better way. And so he came up with this way to solving that problem, which is the problem of channel conflict. Mm-hmm. And he filed for a patent, and 12 years later, patent became approved, and that's really when we kicked off Quivers.
Wow, interesting. And
kind of the generation of Quivers has kind of evolved since that time. So it's not just, channel conflict, which is relevant in some places, in some industries and brands, and some it's not so relevant, but it's really become a solution to help brands sell online and engage with retailers to do fulfillment.
Right, because you guys, what we talked about was a lot of the back-end type stuff that you're doing for retailers and for brands where they can drive specific pro deal sales and closeout sales and all kinds of things. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and that's really the exciting stuff, right? So, as I mentioned, kind of where we started, which is sharing orders, but really where it gets exciting is how brands are taking the solution and creating all sorts of online experiences that are very unique to those audiences. As you mentioned, to pro riders, to store employees, to VIPs. These brands can create these online stores with specific product and price offering, lock it down if they want to, make it wide open if they want to. Mm-hmm. And at the back end, those brands are connecting with local dealers to fulfill some orders, fulfill all orders, allow for those consumers to do in-store pickup. So, as a consumer, you might buy a pair of skis and some bindings, pick the store you want to go, pick up those products, and then walk in and the product is ready for you, ready to head out the door. So it's really trying to create this ecosystem of brands and retailers working together for the benefit of consumers.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you spoke at the Outdoor Snow Show Industry Intelligence Day. That's a mouthful.
I did.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was a very exciting opportunity, actually. We talked all about, how omni-channel is becoming bigger and bigger. Obviously, it's a term that's been used for many years, but really how a lot of technologies have come together to create this seamless story of how consumers purchase, and it's no longer this idea that consumers need to cater to retailers, need to cater to brands, but really it's the other way around, right?
Yeah, the consumer's calling all the shots. Yeah.
You better believe it, right? And there's a lot of technologies out there now that are relatively inexpensive that have come together, right? That have molded together in order to create this amazing experience for consumers where they can start online, they can, finish their buying offline, they can start on social media, they can switch, between websites and all the while it's this seamless experience.
Yeah, they can start on their phone and then go wherever they want to go and then finish the thing when they get home or back on their phone when they get, on the train. It's pretty amazing.
It's incredible. It really is. And all the different, the different social media avenues as well, things like Pinterest.
Yeah, right.
It's just Instagram again is another area where it's, more and more people are starting their buying journey on a picture on Instagram, right?
Yeah,
and and how to tie that into them walking into a store, 6 weeks later to purchase that product it's a pretty unique challenge, but certainly an area where retail as a whole is evolving.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned too that there's a lot of, all these tools and software aren't ridiculously expensive, and they're also, you guys are not Amazon, so it's a way for a retailer to compete with Amazon in the age of Amazon. You're not going to beat Amazon, but at least you can be in the game, right?
Exactly right. We don't position Quivers as a competitor to Amazon.
Right.
Amazon is Amazon.
Right.
They do great work in certain areas, and in certain areas, brands and retailers have their challenges. We provide the Quivers solution to really give brands and retailers another opportunity to engage with consumers, sell direct, and be able to create an amazing experience.
Yeah, another place to be where the consumer is. Yeah, that's awesome.
Exactly.
So what was your experience getting Quivers launched? I bet that was pretty challenging.
Oh, it was incredible.
Not from the software side, it sounds like you have a pretty good software background. So maybe, was that the simple part?
The technology actually was the simple part. Yeah.
Interesting.
It wasn't like we, wrote the software in a couple of days.
Yeah, not easy, but right.
Yeah, it definitely still took time, but the biggest challenge for us was really around listening to our brands and retailers, right? Potential clients. We came into this with a lot of assumptions. We thought we knew what we knew, and we thought we knew what we didn't know as well.
Right.
And it was one of those like, oh, this will be cake. We'll get this up and running. And really the first couple of years was taking our assumptions, throwing them out, and really becoming part of the businesses, the brands and the retailers, not just related to our software, but really getting to understand, the industry challenges, the opportunities,
the timing and the cycles, and right.
Everything, right? Everything. And in the software space, that's called customer development, and it's really all about really learning your customers, right? And getting to be really part of their businesses, understanding their needs, their struggles, their goals, their strategies, and then taking that and actually building a solution that matches very closely with it. So, those first couple of years were a lot of trial and error. I can honestly say we built certain things that we ended up, not using later on, but we learned a lot from it, and that was really what it was about. The last 2 years have been where we took all those learnings and really accelerated. And that's been the exciting part. Working with companies like Rosniel and Marker, Scott Sports, Babila, big names that we're still learning from. Certainly that's
the game is still changing. It's a shifting landscape daily almost. So it
really is, and as with doing the show, that the industry is constantly changing. It's never ending. And that's an exciting piece, is to know that our solution will also be constantly changing, and we need to constantly be learning at the same time.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you think your biggest win has been?
Biggest win, probably, it's a great question. Probably last year as a whole. I know that's very broad, but
if you struggle for so many years, then all of a sudden you have you're in the black. That's a big win.
It is definitely. For us, it was taking again all those learnings, putting them together into a solution, trimming out certain things out of our solution. There was certain things that it just didn't make sense.
Right.
And adding in others where our brands and retailers using, and of course, consumer behavior as well was evolving.
Yeah.
And that was all just kind of starting to come together at the same time. And last year for us was just a great year where, the larger brands on our platform really hit some home runs. They started doing things with our platform that we never even thought about. I guess that was the other exciting piece.
We designed it to do this, but they're doing that over there. Wow, we didn't even think of that. Yeah,
exactly. We'd go sit down with one of our clients, one of the brands, and they'd say, here's what we're launching next week, and we're sitting there going, my goodness, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, sure, that's brilliant. That's great. Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So it was, creating this solution where they could take their business to the next level, even if it wasn't us pushing it. It was just a tool set to allow them to do that. So that was a big year for us. I mean, I certainly don't see it as our biggest win that we'll have in the history of our company. Certainly not. But
right,
it was definitely up to this point. It was pretty epic.
Right. It's interesting that you bring up all the communication you did with your customers. I was watching somewhere on YouTube. There was an interview. It was either Chase Jarvis or Tim Ferriss, somebody interviewing the guy that founded Airbnb. And when they were in their infancy, they had a handful of customers and they were working with some incubator group. And the guy was asking them, where are your customers? And they said, well, all of them are in New York City. And he said, well, go to New York City, go knock on the door, go talk to them, go find out what it is that they like about your service. So going to your customer and asking questions is a great strategy to use if you're starting out. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And for us, it wasn't just sending a survey. It was literally, we got in the truck, we in the company truck, we headed out the door. We had someone from our development team. We had, someone from our onboarding team, from sales, kind of representing each part of the business.
Yeah.
And we literally set up interviews with retailers and brands in their stores, in their businesses. Yeah. And we got to learn an incredible amount, even just getting a tour of their shop. How do you fulfill orders?
Right.
It's like, my goodness, never had any idea that this is how you guys operate. And that was extremely eye-opening. And we've made a habit of doing that ever since, is just, getting out of our office and actually learning about our clients as much as possible.
Yeah, that's a great strategy. Yeah. And so what are your thoughts on the current state of, not necessarily retail, but outdoor retail, and maybe in specific outdoor snow sports?
Yeah, absolutely. It's evolving. I mean, that's I think a word that's probably used a lot with outdoor retail is, it was a very, very different industry when we started 5-6 years ago. It's certainly going to be a different industry 5 years from now.
Right.
And it's just constantly evolving, but it is alive and well. And I think that's the interesting thing. Sometimes misperceived piece of outdoor retail, especially brick and mortar retail, is, a lot of studies are saying, oh, there's so many doors closing.
Right.
And in reality, there are doors closing, but there's still more doors opening and thriving than there are closing. And that's something, that is part of this evolution. It's the retailers that really understand their customers, that truly are trying to evolve with how the customer is evolving, that are doing extremely well.
Yeah.
But it is no longer an industry where you can sit back and expect next season to be the same as this season, because that's just not the way it is.
Well, back in the day when the whole thing started, you just threw a sign up that said outdoor and sold fleece and you were killing it, and and nowadays it's, as everything, things get more sophisticated, and if you just sit there and wait and keep doing it the same old way, it's not going to work. You've got to keep adapting and evolving, and those folks that are, you're right, are those that are thriving and growing, and there's a lot of them.
Absolutely. And I think it's that mindset as well, that there is no standard customer, right? Every customer is unique, and it spans from the type of technology that they use to, how they enter the buying cycle. The buying cycle itself used to be very, very predictable.
Right.
Now it is all over the shop, and it's getting insights into that buying cycle and accommodating how consumers want to buy. That is challenging, but those that are doing it right are absolutely thriving.
Yeah, I agree. And where do you think it's going to go in 5 to 10 years? You think the consumer is going to continue to drive the bus? Will the retailers get some modicum of control back? What do you think?
I think the consumer is going to be in the driver's seat for the foreseeable future. I don't see that that's going to change. I do see that, the way that ownership works might change. And this has been an interesting, learning from a lot of the brands out there, that particularly in specialty retail, and high-end specialty retail, where it's products that are, $500 plus, and maybe even more valuable than that. And products that aren't necessarily used on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
I think skis is a great example. A lot of people own skis. They use them a couple times a year. Some only use them once or twice a year. And for the rest, they sit collecting dust in a garage somewhere.
Yeah.
I think there's a big opportunity, for products like that to be shared, and to be leveraged and utilized to a higher degree.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen this in very valuable products such as like private jets and yachts and cars, where those are shared among users, and there's membership. Homes, yeah, exactly, right. Yeah. Where these very valuable assets and products are shared, or there's a subscription type model for them. And I think more and more in high-end products, in the sporting goods industry, we'll start heading that way in the next 5 to 10 years as well. It's going to be something that will evolve over time, but I can certainly say for such as myself that, does a lot of traveling, having a subscription, membership to, let's say a high-end mountain bike product would be amazing, right?
Yeah,
Anywhere
exactly.
I go, I can rent a mountain bike. That would be pretty incredible out of a membership service. So
take the gym membership and just drop it down a notch to the equipment membership, and you might be onto something. Yeah.
Exactly, right. I might be completely wrong about this. I just want to put a little disclaimer there, but it seems to be a trend in a lot of different industries, and it really hasn't hit the outdoor retail space as of yet, but it might be interesting if it does.
I think you're pretty spot on. Again, I was listening to another Tim Ferriss podcast where he was talking to, I think it was Kevin Kelly, who was talking about the future and how things are going. And he claimed that, I don't know how far off in the future, but we're all going to have this box. Right now we have a garage that stores all this equipment. Well, in the future, his theory is we're going to have a box, and we can, say we're going to go camping for the weekend. So we go online and we fill out, we need a stove, I need a couple sleeping bags, whatever you need, and next day it shows up in your box. You go on your trip, you get home from your trip, you put it back, and you don't have to clean it or anything. You throw it back in the box, send it away, and it gets processed for the next guy. And it's going to be everything from cooking equipment and clothing and camping equipment to sporting goods, bikes and weights. It's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So. It's definitely, and with more and more people, living in cities, that's just a general trend around the world, and more people living in smaller spaces. There's the whole, little house, small house, whatever, trend out there. And
more people, we're not going to be able to have these big houses with big garages. It's just not going to be able to do it. Yeah.
Exactly right, and I think that storing that equipment becomes a bigger challenge for people. So certainly a model like that solves a lot of challenges. Yeah,
I think you're spot on with that. Let's shift gears a little bit. Do you guys do any nonprofit work at Quivers or yourself personally?
We spent a lot of last year focusing on our business, admittedly, and this year we are starting to focus more and more on the nonprofit side of things. So we're actually just launching a new community involvement program with our team. So we're going to be doing some local trail cleanups here in the California area.
Cool.
We've got some other activities planned for later this year as well to really try and give back to the community. And admittedly, just also get out of the office. It's always good to go enjoy the nice outdoors and do some charitable work at the same time. So we're super excited about that. I'm also trying to convince my team to do a charity run. That might take a little more effort, but but we'll see if we can get there as well. Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be great. And what suggestions or advice do you have for folks wanting to get in the outdoor biz or grow their career or do something like you did? Start something like Quivers. Start one of those subscription boxes.
Yeah, exactly. I think the first part of that advice is really not to be so much focused on products that are directly in the outdoor industry, right? So when I was coming out of university, I thought, I want to do something with the outdoors, but I love software. Software's my thing. It's what I'm good at. It's what I'm interested in. And I thought the two of those were polar opposites.
Right.
But in reality, they became very complementary of each other, which was interesting. So I think it's one of those situations where it's, don't necessarily ignore what you're good at or what you're interested in, just because you want to stay, in the outdoor industry, for example.
Yeah.
But look for opportunities where the two can actually work together. And that was really where Quivers came about. We do work with a lot of other industries. We work in, consumer electronics and 12-volt and automotive and a variety of others.
Right.
But sporting goods is certainly our biggest industry at this point.
Huh. Uh-huh.
And it's where we started, and it's and it allows us to, or allows me anyway, to still engage with a lot of brands in that industry, which is, a huge part of what I enjoy in life. So,
well, that's great advice, because I think as the outdoor industry grows and continues to evolve and gets more sophisticated, we need more people like you that have, backgrounds and experience in software and technology and whatever it might be, because, we're just a bunch of, I'm an old river guide. I mean, I don't know how to do any of that stuff. So, you guys can help us push the industry forward. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, the company I worked for right out of university, or while I was in university, actually, was based out of Bozeman, Montana. And that's another interesting trend, is more and more tech companies are getting based out of more places that are not, Silicon Valley or major cities.
Yeah.
And that allows people, I had some great friends that work there that, would put in their, 8 to 4, 8 to 5, be summertime, have evening hours, and they go out fly fishing after work.
That's great.
Right. And it's not just necessarily a career choice, but now also a lifestyle in terms of staying in the outdoors and still being able to do, what you like to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And do you have any daily routines you use to keep your sanity? You meditate, exercise, walk the dog?
It's exercise for sure. I try and get to the gym a couple times a week. That allows me to keep what's left of my sanity. It's one of those things where for an hour, it just totally blank out from work and just, focus on breaking a sweat. So
that's important. Yeah.
That's always good. On the weekends, I try and get out, do some hiking. Wintertime, obviously try and hit the ski slopes for a couple hours. That's always been good. And then, certainly, reading book. I try and kind of swap that around with some business focused books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are some of your favorite books?
I've read some great books in the last, probably last year and a half. One of my favorites is The Hard Thing About Hard Things.
I just listened to that on Audible. Great book.
Incredible book.
Yeah.
It is a no nonsense book. It is not a make you feel good book,
right?
But it is a book to certainly put reality spin on starting a business, and that was a great book to read. It's by Ben Horowitz, and he's just a master. So, and
talk about some smart guys. Wow.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. And what they've been through.
Yeah.
I mean, what he describes in that book, it makes our business look like a walk in the park. I mean, he's been through some stuff. So
yeah, exactly.
So that's been a good one. The other good one that I've read, was called, Blue Ocean Strategy.
Another good one.
And have you read that one?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So this book is super interesting because it's less about competing with someone in the industry and more about focusing on opening up a whole new sector of the industry, right? Something that no one's ever done before, something that changes the entire playbook.
Yep.
And that's pretty interesting. It's kind of been a driver of what we do at Quivers. It's not to say we have, no one else that plays in this space, but it certainly is. It's an area about, again, listening to your customers, looking at where the industry is going, looking at the changes, and then forgetting about what exists and just going for gold. Just create something amazing.
And looking at, looking inside your business and figuring out how you can change the game so that you can not only, leave the competition behind, but eliminate them. Nobody's even doing this. I have this unique talent, this unique, service, whatever it might be, completely shifts the game. Yeah, that's a great book too.
Yeah, pretty amazing. So those have been my two favorites.
Good, those are good ones. Year. Yeah, well, we'll link to those in the show notes. And how about your favorite outdoor gear purchase under $100? Do you have one of those?
Good question. I feel like I should answer something, with Internet of Things, IoT, or some creative, a drone or something. But for me, honestly, it is just a Leatherman knife.
Oh, great! Yeah.
Yeah, it is, a tool that when you go camping, it could be just about everything for you.
Yeah.
A mountain bike trip, it can fix things.
Yeah.
For me, that is still a tool that comes in handy more than any single product I've purchased today.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, I think that's been mentioned a couple of times. A lot of folks love those tools. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And plus it, it never runs out of batteries.
Exactly.
Doesn't need a cell signal, and it never needs a software upgrade, which is always a plus as well.
That's right. It works anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
As we go to wrap, is there anything else you'd like to say or ask of our audience?
The one thing that I would give as advice, and I certainly look at ourselves when I give this advice as well, is to embrace the changes in customer behavior and don't fight it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Customers are going to evolve. Technology is going to evolve.
Yeah.
The only way, and this isn't just outdoor space, it's software companies, it's everything, is to look at those changes and see the opportunities in how consumers are evolving,
right.
not trying to push back on it. And it's difficult. It's probably the most difficult thing to do. And it's not necessarily quick either, but at the end of the day, it's how a lot of these companies are surviving. And again, back to thriving, right? They're the ones leading the charge and the ones that are setting themselves up for future success. So that's probably the biggest piece of advice is, look at how, at how consumers are changing and embrace that and look at it as an opportunity.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they're always going to call the shots. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. And where can people find you if they want to reach out to ask questions or check out what you're doing?
Probably the best way is on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So, Ruben L. Martin on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we'll link to that.
Our web. Okay. And our website is www.quivers.com.
Cool.
So that's, we've got some information there. And then I have my own Instagram feed. It's not exactly business focused, but very outdoorsy. I love outdoor photography.
Cool.
So I certainly like, taking my iPhone. That's my challenge actually, is to take my iPhone and see what kind of outdoor pictures I can
take. Man, so, that's a pretty good camera now, as long as you can get some good compositions and,
Exactly. So on Instagram, it's Ruben L. Martin as well. So
great. Well, we'll link to all that stuff and we'll follow you on Instagram. Thanks for the time, Ruben. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I look forward to catching up with you at the next show.
Sounds good.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Ruben Martin. You can catch up with him on LinkedIn. He's Ruben L. Martin. And be sure to check out his Instagram feed at Ruben L. Martin to see his outdoor photography. You can find more about Quivers. Go to quivers.com. That's Quivers. And you'll find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/episodes/084. Be sure to hit your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. Thanks for listening. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. I've used Audible for many years now. I'm on the road a lot, and Audible allows me to enjoy the great books I discover or are recommended by friends. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/theoutdoorbizpodcast. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Start your 30-day free trial with Audible today. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure and go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com where you'll find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Thanks for listening, and until next time, be sure and make time to get outside.